7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon. This is a public meeting of the Arts Federation Application Review Panel, convened to review and discuss the Indiana Arts Commission fiscal year 24 Arts Project Support Grant Program applications for Region 4. I am Bill McInerney. I am located in West Lafayette, and I am today's panel facilitator. Today is April 28, 2023, and meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting is being recorded and can be made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from. Let's start with the panel. Jeff, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Garrett. I'm with the State of Michigan Arts and Culture Council, their state arts agency, and I'm coming to you just east of Flint, Michigan.
Thanks, Jeff. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Schechter. I am retired from Purdue University and a small business owner, and I live in Lafayette, Indiana.
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi, I'm Cindy McShirley. I am a retired 20-year history arts nonprofit administrator, and I'm coming to you from Petoskey, Michigan.
Thank you. Sky?
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. My name is Sky, and I'm originally from Tippecanoe County, but currently in Youngstown, Ohio, as a nanny for my friend's baby. Art and service has been a constant love of my lifetime, so I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna?
Hey, all. My name is Donna James. I am a workflow expert and artful gatherer. I work with companies like Berklee College of Music, and I have my own consulting firm, CX Solutions, and I am very excited to be here today.
And Christina?
Hello, my name is Christina Nimchik-Mongold. I am a French horn player, originally from Bloomington, Indiana, now in West Lafayette, Indiana, and I am the president of the Wabash Valley Youth Orchestra.
And that is our panel. Thank you. Well, let's begin the panel review. This is how we'll do it. I will announce the applications that we are reviewing and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the application criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives that panelists bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. I should say that if a panelist had a conflict of interest, that panelist would be placed in a virtual waiting room while the application is reviewed. However, I'm pleased to tell everyone that there are no conflicts of interest on this panel. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. The reason we have the broader discussion. These scores save automatically. Are there any questions from the panel? Well, let's begin. We'll start with the application from the Greater Kokomo Economic Development Alliance, and the first reader for this application is Jeff.
Great, thank you, Bill. Okay, so going through my notes, just going to go through and start with artistic quality and then work my way down through the criteria. So the project summary describes the 1 mile trail. Didn't quite see how it addressed how grant funds will be used specifically. Like it didn't say we're going to use IAC grant funds for this. Works in the sculpture trail change every couple of years, and so it exhibits works from both Indiana artists as well as some national artists, so a blend. The purpose to me was clear, and I didn't quite see a full explanation of how it addresses whether or not past projects inform future programming, but it did add that it states that jurors have prior experience serving, usually 2 to 3 years is what I read in the narrative. Briefly describes the benefit to artists. I can kind of infer some of it indirectly, but also, the showcase talent and some funding. Volunteer committee to assist artists with the installation and removal of their works. It's a pretty good support system in place for them. Appreciated the upload, the informative sculpture walk upload. I like that. And then we're going to get into community engagement and IDEA. Benefit to all, but no specific underserved communities discussed or identified, but the works are basically in town, and so anyone who passes through town is going to see the works. Public engagement via the trails promotion, and of course, each individual's interaction with the works, there's going to be some benefit to the audience and the artist. The entry does not include or does not address how the project was developed with community. And so let's see, moving on to it kind of addresses IDEA with some references to access, but could benefit by adding details such as, is the trail ADA accessible? I would imagine it is because it's in the city or in the municipality. Talks about a phone app that may increase access as well. Some metrics in place. It'd be interesting to learn. This does not affect Segura, but I just thought it'd be interesting to learn if these works have had any positive economic impact for Kokomo or for the community. Social media campaign for marketing documents are reasonable, and appropriate numbers for participation as public works. And then just to finish up, the project manager in place has prior experience with the project or projects. Appreciated the additional information with regard to marketing team. There was a short turnaround time, I thought, on the timetable between the artist notification and installation, but they've been doing it, so obviously it's okay, it works. So the timeline was reasonable. And I just want to note that just based on the budget, that there's a considerable amount of literal buy-in from the city and the Economic Development Alliance. So overall, good project and good application. And those are my comments.
Thanks, Jeff. The second reader on this application is Susan.
Well, I thought that was a good set of comments from the first reader. I did agree that the underserved community is not well defined, and maybe there are some things that could be done, like having someone, could someone sit and count on a busy day pretty day downtown and see, get some metrics. The counting of cars driving by, I thought was a little optimistic that cars driving by are appreciating the art. It looks like a lovely place. I hope to go and visit it because it is looks really nice. The project is planned and executed by civic groups. It would be nice to get more public input. I know Facebook has a polling option, and maybe that could be used, as well as maybe having an activity to structure public interactions with the sculptures, and that would increase the engagement of the community and provide an opportunity to collect input. That's my comments.
Thank you, Susan. So we'll open to the panel, the larger panel. Anyone wish to speak to this application? Christina.
I had a couple of points that weren't mentioned. I thought it was really interesting and impactful that the sculptures stay up for 2 years and then rotate. And I thought that was interesting because it brings in a lot of different artists, but it also gives the community ample time to enjoy the art. I also thought it was really notable that over 100 different artists applied for this opportunity. So it does sound like they are getting the word out that this is going on. About the Indiana artist, what Jeff said, this features artists from all over. I thought it might be interesting for them to consider maybe doing an Indiana block or dedicating a certain portion of the walk to Indiana artists to help benefit our local community and local artists in Indiana.
Anyone else wish to speak to this application? Sky.
I really love that the sculpture walk, that it served as a catalyst to encourage the residents and the visitors to use the city trail systems. That was a great idea. So thank you.
Any other thoughts from the panel on this grant application? Well, in that case, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know when you're all done and we'll move on.
Was that a thumbs up, everyone?
It appears that we do. Okay, good. Moving right along, our next application is the L&A Park Foundation. And Cindy, you are the first reader.
Thank you, Bill. I'll start right in and I'll go in that same order, starting with artistic quality and support. I thought the good use of demographics to demonstrate accessibility to larger venues and experience. Whoops, I'm in the wrong box. Let me get right there. Okay. And qualities, goals, and I think the artistic quality goals and support is evidenced. I have one comment for a stronger proposal. You might wish to include how the performing artists are selected from all the pool of suggestions you get, and what is the selection criteria for artistic quality, as well as I was curious as how they got feedback from the participating artists. I think the artist support is evidenced and easily understood. They book and pay musicians. Under community engagement, I think for a stronger proposal, they might want to define specific IDA, EA strategies used. You know, what do you do to reach underserved audiences? The geography issue is in the arts is addressed. Are there other steps that they take? You might want to explain how attendees are invited to encourage to comment. You know, how do you do this? Share the plan with us. And overall, it looks to have really strong community partners in planning for the events. And under project management, staff timelines and budget seem appropriate for the project. They might want to include more detail in the bio of the persons involved with the project. And I think it's interesting to note this is a relatively young park. It's obviously it's a memorial. It came out of sprung out of a tragedy, and just in a few short years, they've done the infrastructure and they've already got 2 years of programming. So I think the application overall, once they hone up some of these other things, they're already doing good work, and there's a lot of success happening here. You know, they mentioned that the workload in recent history has been overwhelming, and that being said, you know, again, congratulations on the achievements, and there looks to be successes. But if you're going to say something like that, they have no doubt that the committee is planning and staffing is not an issue, it would be nice to explain that committee structure a little bit more. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Cindy. Sky, you are the second reader on this particular application.
Thank you. I appreciate that this gives the community that's experienced such a tragic loss a place to enjoy the arts. I really enjoyed reading this application, And I like that they were mindful of people in the community schedules, that they're considering doing it on different days, not just on the weekends. Moving forward, I don't know if maybe it could be possible for workshops or some types of demonstrations to go on with the local artists that are also taking part. Or if there could be something with transportation or some type of live streaming for people in the community who aren't capable of getting there on their own. For measuring impact, maybe something there that's a survey box that not only getting the information back on social media, but actually something to collect it while they're there. I did wish for a little more of an explanation of the financial benefit to the participating artists to know who is actually getting what. But I love the communities involved. Hopefully there can be some more community volunteers in the future that they can add to the budget for the in-kind donations. And yeah, thank you for submitting the application. I'm happy you guys can celebrate the lives of Abby and Libby during these moments. That's all I have.
Thank you. Would the panel as a body wish to speak to this particular application?
The bands that they have had play in the past are local bands, so it is good support for local musicians.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else?
Just noted that the bulk of the funding, modest marketing with the majority of it for the artists. So nice.
Thank you, Jeff. And Christina?
They mentioned having vendors come out, selling goods and arts, and I would have loved to know a little bit more about who they plan to invite and the different vendors that might participate and be on site. And then in the project management section, I felt they mentioned 2 of the leaders on this project, but I would have loved to know a little bit more, to have the titles, the roles, and the responsibilities, and maybe just a little bit more detail. But I did like the artists and the links that they provided to the different bands. There was kind of like a rock band that was more on the heavy metal side. There was a band that was doing like Mellencamp covers, which I love because he's Indiana. And then one of the ensembles had some jazz guys with some different instrumentation that were doing improv, and I really appreciated that. If they could build upon that and maybe bring in some folk, some blues, some gospel, and things of that nature, I think it would be really impactful. So I really enjoyed those links.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this application? Then I think it's time to update our scores and comments.
Don't forget, if you're done, go ahead and put a thumbs up so Bill can see you.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, let's move along to, see, we're just flying through these things. Let's move along to application 3. This one is from the Lafayette Transitional Housing Center. And the first reader for this application is Donna.
Hey there. All right. I really enjoyed reading through this application. Over here in our first comments, my first comments were that the vision was very, very clear and seemed really strategic, and the production quality definitely fit the goals that were espoused in the application. I really thought they were incredibly thoughtful about the strategy and the funds being directed toward the community. That was very present through a lot of the way that they described their application. The sustainability also seemed to be there. Going forward to community engagement, like I said, my comments centered a lot about the groundedness and the strategy with the community that is served, as well as the people who will be producing the program that's proposed. It's very grounded in a life cycle with the organization, which seems very grounded in IDEA strategies. And throughout the whole process of the project, I thought that was quite interesting. The project management seems appropriate. It seems like it's very integrated into their programming, and the staffing is ready to absorb that. The budget is really specific and it aligns directly with the project needs. So it was really helpful to see very detailed outlines of how they were going to spend the funds. Yeah, I think that's the end of my comment. That is the end of my comments.
Thank you. The second reader for this third application is Christina.
Hi, I also really enjoyed reading this application, and I agree with everything that Donna said. I really, I think what was really impactful for me regarding the 2024 theme, because this is not the first year they've done this, is that the goal is for participants to feel pride in their experiences instead of shame. That was really impactful for me. I did feel one area of improvement could be to mention more details about the past mentors and the past artists that were involved in this program. I think it said it's been 5 years that they've been doing this. So what were some of the other themes? Who participated? Were they children, teens, veterans? Any info about how this program has instigated healing in our local homeless population, I think would add to the impact. One thing I thought was really awesome about this whole project is that 20 local artists, they said, will benefit financially from participating in this project. So that was really interesting. And I felt overall the idea work was incredibly strong in this application. The point that I was particularly impressed with is the fact that the administrators of this project plan to incentivize participation in this project. I'm not 100% sure on, I believe from reading the application that that's a new thing. They took feedback from previous years and decided to incentivize, because this is a homeless population. People might not want to discuss their homelessness, and there might be issues. They might not understand the therapeutic benefits of participating in something like this. So the fact that they're offering a financial incentive to make sure that they're having a high level of participation was extremely impactful for me. I loved the flyers, and I loved actually looking at the art that's been produced. So overall, I think this is awesome. In terms of project management, everyone involved seems extremely experienced and well prepared. And that's the end of my commentary.
Thank you. Comments from the panel as a whole? Yes, Sky.
I really think that it's a great idea how at the gallery presentation, the viewers are asked to provide their feedback both before and after, to just show the impact that this project is having on the community as well. So thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Susan and then Cindy.
Yeah, I may be not understanding completely, but I understood that, and while I appreciate the recognition of the accomplishments of the project participants, I think that what they did is they categorized the participants as artists, and that's why 20 artists were compensated. I think it's great to compensate the participants, but by definition, an artist produces art as a profession or as a hobby. And I really think categorizing participants in one project, categorizing them as artists is not the way I would approach doing it.
Thank you, Cindy.
I had that same comment on Susan on the participants versus artists. And then I just have one other suggestion for improvement. So when you read general statements like they can be proud versus feel ashamed, I I would like to know, how do you measure that, or how do you prove that? So when you're making a statement like that for a stronger proposal, I think you need to back that up. But overall, a very easily understood, meaningful, impactful project.
Anything else from the panel on this application? Yes, Sky.
I appreciate my fellow panelists' thoughts, but I have a different perspective on artists. I feel like everyone is an artist. We're all creating our lives. We're the artists of our own journey. So, you know, I think it's incredible to allow them to feel that way, just the way that probably everyone else who considers themselves an artist is, and says that they are the experts of their life. I think it's important.
Any other comments on this application from the panel? Then let's update our scores and our final comments. Are we ready? Donna? Ready?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, moving right along. The fourth application that we're going to discuss comes from the Latino Center for Wellness and Education, and Susan is the first reader.
Okay, this is for the 2023 Latino, Tippecanoe Latino Festival. There is dance, music, and artisan booths. They are established features that they've had at the event in the past. The application clearly describes the artistic components of the festival, the dance performances, and artists and vendors of handiwork and Latin foods. The marketing materials capture the vivid performances. The IAC grant funds are budgeted in full for performance artist support. The performance artists are primarily local or Indiana-based. Artisanal food vendors are local and Latino owned. This application will support a wide variety of Indiana artists and artisans. This is an excellent idea project, though the festival is by, of, and for the Latino community. It is welcoming to all. Support within the targeted community is strong, as indicated by participation in planning and instrumental support. It would be helpful to give account of the number of volunteers and volunteer hours that support this festival. That's it.
Thank you, Susan. Cindy, you are the second reader.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Too many screens open. I think the artistic quality is clearly evidenced by the long list of past featured artists, and some of those will be repeats this year. I found it very interesting how, especially for a festival model, that they partnered with university students to capture attendance data. And I thought that was really interesting, but I was left wanting just one more, like, then tell us what the results of that data, because they said they had goals of first-time attendees. And again, festival model, that's really hard to get that information. So for future applications, I hope that they include that stuff, because I think that could be very compelling and very powerful. And then they talk about other members and other organizations that serve on the planning committee. And I would just like to have some more detail on that, because I suspect that they probably have some pretty good organizations serving there. And then that was just that immediate outside testimonial, but if they list those organizations that are involved, so just a little more detail there. but overall great application.
Do we have comments from the panel as a whole about this application from the Latino Center for Wellness and Education? Christina.
I'm going to try to make this short because I was so impressed with this application. I thought that the range that this festival provides to our community in terms of Mexican, Peruvian, I mean, the whole range of Latin America, the Latinx community is so well represented in the music, in the food, and in the art. Some things that really stuck out to me is all the different types of vendors, from the Latinas Welding Guild to some of the dance troupes. I just felt like the representation was touching. And then they also had representation from other parts of our community. So they didn't just limit to Latinx, but they had people like the Lafayette Police Department. And it really just showed how strong the ties between the Latinx community and the larger community are. And then I'll end with, most notably, the community building was really powerful because they talked about how one of the vendors that wanted to participate didn't have licensing, but this community was able to facilitate them becoming a licensed business. So the development of growth there, again, was just incredibly touching, and I thought it was a really strong application.
Thank you. Anyone else on the panel speak to this? Jeff.
Yeah, just two quick things. One, I just wanted to say that I did make a note about, it'd be nice to know what StatCom was. I mean, I can guess, but a sentence could be helpful there. And then I liked a quote that I found in one of the marketing materials with regard to the cultural educational piece comes through the things we get to show off about our culture. Yes. So, I mean, fine arts is telling an idea, communicating an idea or a feeling. And so this is, what it's doing.
Just real quick for me, one of the things that Christina mentioned, but I want to really flesh out, is the multidisciplinary artistic focus. I really enjoyed the fact that there are like multiple manifestations of art involved in this, and it also links to the economic of the space. And I just think it's very it's a really unique thing.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Back to Christina.
I'm sorry. The culinary arts is something that they really had strong representation on. And then to piggyback off what Jeff said, in one of the clips they provided of the mariachi and the performing Mexican artists with the dresses that swirl, many people, first of all, that was in 2 languages. That material they provided was in Spanish as well as in English. And I felt that the idea work was really strong in that segment, but also some of the attendees commented that they had never seen anything like that before. So I felt like that, again, was really strong. Thank you.
Anything else from the panel on this application? Well, then let's finalize our scores and update any online comments that we might have. All right, thanks very much. Our next application comes from the Metropolitan School District of Warren County, and specifically the Warren County Learning Center. And Sky, I believe you are the first reader on this grant, this application.
Thank you. I love the value that each of these projects brings to the community of Warren County. Since the panel is meeting sometime this spring to choose the 2 classes, I'm curious what classes they're going to choose for the summertime project. They mentioned a small but growing population of Hispanic residents. Perhaps next year they may consider adding an additional second Saturday, planned with the Hispanic musical group also being added to the mix. I appreciated that the high school student artists will benefit, that they not only are having positive reinforcement by creating, but that they receive the cash prizes. I would have loved a little more explanation about the financial benefit overall to all the participating artists. I believe it's commendable to never charge for the concerts or to allow money to be a barrier for the students. I would have liked a little more context about the various backgrounds of the community panel and of the children who have signed up in the previous years. That they mail their brochure to each household in the county, I think is fantastic. Social media is amazing, but some people aren't online as much. I was also curious if any of these brochures are possibly made in Spanish. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see any of the posts on the Facebook link that they provided, but on the website, I did see that they offer an ESL class, which I thought is well done. I liked their diverse ways of measuring impact. And overall, I love the collaboration within the community. The initial project timelines for the events are very well laid out. So thank you for sharing your vision and submitting your application. And that's all the comments I have.
Thank you. Jeff, I believe you are the second reader.
Okay, great. Thanks, Guy. Yeah, not much to add on there. For me, just a little, there was some awkward phrases in the beginning. I couldn't, first it was a project for the two classes, and then there was the addition of an exhibition, but then later on I read the exhibition was not part of those classes, part of another, as part of the school exhibition, and then there's also the project of the second Saturday concert series. So just a little confusion there for me, but I figured it all out. I connected all the dots there, so no loss to the applicant with regard to points on that stuff. So I got it, basically is what I'm saying. A couple things to note, some highlights, some gold nuggets that were good about the application. 21 years, 22 now, fantastic. That says a lot about your organization and the work it does and those that it serves. And I too noted the positive reinforcement statement. I like that too. That was great to add that in there. Good for the panel to read. Yeah, the narrative mentions several events to specific audiences, specifically when they're talking about the music concert that they were having, who they're looking to serve or inform. Free, yay. I was happy to see that they're seeking input from the Latinx community. They address ADA accessibility, yay. And I know there's some good measurement tactics in place. And yeah, good application. That's my comments.
Thank you, Jeff. From the panel as a group, anyone want to chime in?
Yeah, I have something. I very much enjoyed that they took sort of a local data context and really grounded it that way for us. That helped me get a really clear picture of how strategic they were about what they were thinking. And I really appreciated just the awareness of the local space that you are working in.
Anyone else? Yes, Christina, and then Cindy. Sorry, Cindy.
Yep. Two quick things. I was really impressed by the artistic quality of the offering of classes that they're going to offer, the waterfall class, and having the students get out there and actually take pictures of that, I thought was amazing. I would love to know more details about exactly what skills that they'll learn. Is it using lenses? Are they improvising in the theater class, miming, learning about upstage versus downstage? Any of the techniques and skills I think would have added to just the quality, the artistic quality of the programming. I also was really impressed with the clip they provided of the swing band. Swing is a uniquely American art form that has reached worldwide, and I thought that was a really prolific and impactful addition to their festival programming on Saturdays.
Cindy?
A couple of comments. When you say, again, like general statements like our schools have less art offerings, then just back that up with whatever that information is for a community. But then on the flip side, they did a great job of using demographics to speak to other parts of the community. So just when you're going to say a general statement, just back that up to make the application a little stronger. And I love this statement. Many of our best classes have been suggested by but then I wanted more. So, show off a little, say, hey, we had this suggestion from so-and-so, and it was really well-attended class, whatever. Just, give us that information, because this is your opportunity to show off, and obviously longstanding program. So I'm sure there's lots of great stories there.
Any other comments from the panel? Then let's update our scores and any online comments we might want to make. Okay, thank you very much. Our next application, NOLA World Music and Artworks. Christina, I believe you are the first reader on this one.
Thank you. I thought this was a great application. I learned a lot about the Nigerian form Ashogo. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think the author did an exemplary job explaining that the art form was born out of resistance against colonialism. I feel it added a lot of artistic quality to the project. I feel that the authenticity is slightly underrated in the application. I mean, we're bringing a Nigerian specialist, one of the founders of the resurgence of this art form, from Nigeria to Indiana. And I feel like that could have been emphasized a little bit more. Although they made the importance of the resurgence of this art form very important in the application, I feel like the goals of the exhibition and the project were a little bit harder to glean from the application. They did talk about exposing the community and doing educational outreach, which is phenomenal, but the details were lacking. Who are we exposing in the community? What are the goals of the exposure? And I did get the inkling that this is still in the planning stages. I feel like they're going to discuss with their partners, and they're going to plan with several different people that they mentioned, but would love the details about what some of the plans are. So they talked about they're going to have workshops, they're going to visit schools, but they didn't really talk about how that's going to benefit Indiana artists. So I would love, possibly in the future or in the development of this program, to talk about a workshop for Indiana artists, particularly on that Adire art form. The fact that this man is a specialist in this beautiful art form that was demonstrated in some of the links, I wish they would say, this is how we're going to teach Indiana artists to do this. We have this dye, we have this wax, to sort of go into a little bit more detail there. Lastly, in terms of the idea work, I would love to learn more about their partnership with NIDO and the African Council of Indiana. I would love for them to talk a little bit more about accessibility and to talk about the Nigerian American community that exists in Indiana. I think when the additional planning is accomplished, that will bring a lot of strength to this application. That is the end of my comments.
Thank you. And the second reader for this grant is Donna.
Yeah, I had similar sort of takeaways. I felt a little bit like there were two goals. There was the sort of the classes, and then there's this resurgence, and I wanted a little bit more of that tied in the whole way through. I did think that the impact was clear within like local, state, and international communities. I thought that was really impressive to make a whole through line with this historical significance that Christina was talking about. I similarly noted that funds going into Indiana artists and cultivating Indiana artists could have been a little bit stronger. I think you said everything I was going to say, Christina. I wanted additional audience metrics or past ones referenced to. I also made a note that I had a question around the projected participation. I believe that it was probably forecasted based on some information, but it could have been outlined a little bit clearer so that we were also on board with that as we were reading through it. I did think it was wonderful to see that there were additional funding streams added that could support this work. And I similarly, it feels like a potential seed for a lot to grow out of. And I'm wondering if that's part of the way it was presented and sort of where we were looking for more of those connections.
Thank you. The panel as a whole wish to speak to this application? Susan?
Yeah, I again, in agreement that this is a wonderful opportunity to bring some really world-class art to exposure to Indiana. The exhibition is in Indianapolis, and I think the Region 4 participation was not entirely clear, except for the one class in the women's ex-cons, women ex-cons in Kokomo. And I think being more specific about the workshops that will be held in Region 4 would be really helpful for this application.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yep, just wanted to add on some of the previous comments. It's yeah, it kind of felt like that there were some of the entries rely on programming and events that are still to be planned. So it just feels like it's maybe a little premature, but could be close. I thought maybe the timeline was a little tight, especially considering international travel for artists. And but you know, in kind is always great evidence of support. And I kind of had just a little bit of a struggle at the benefit for the artist or the curator or both or so. But yeah, great project, good idea. But yeah, but I echo my colleagues' comments as well. That's it.
Anything else from the panel as a whole? Well, then let's update our scores and online comments. I think everyone is done. Our next grant application is from the Purdue University Asian American and Asian Resource and Cultural Center, I think, but my thing cuts off at that point. In any event, it's Purdue University Asian American and Asian Resource. And Jeff, you are the first reader.
All right, great. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so looking at artistic quality. So it's artists in residence focusing on mural arts that includes workshops, some experiential learning and exhibition. I thought that maybe describing and discussing the site specifically could be helpful. Like, is the intent to produce a mural on a wall or on a building or on a panel? Some of that effect, just another line of detail will be helpful. The entry does not state if the project is recurring or how past experiences inform it, but I do see that this is it is a continuation, because I learned later on that it is, or in some way, shape, or form. Artist benefits honoraria. Students and communities and partners are listed, but could benefit from just adding the term general public or open to all. Some of that effect could be beneficial. And moving on to artist support, further discussion beyond financial with regard to the benefit to the artist could be beneficial. The IAC funds are solely to fund the artist. Great. No Indiana artists are financially benefit from this proposed project. And so, I mean, with the purpose of the grant is to fund Indiana artists. And so it falls short of it. But, you know, I guess you could also say that Indiana artists may attend, and then it could be this cultural exchange in arts and ideas. So there's that. Moving on to community engagement. So the Purdue Asian American and Asian communities feedback for inspiration is listed. That's clear, but the panel could benefit from an extra statement or two describing the community, or as they say, the community at large. That could be just some more detail would be helpful. Free programming is fantastic. And then they also have an accessible format via the virtual realm, so people can check in on things there. General public is mentioned in section 3 of the IDEA strategies part there. Measuring impact, that number 4 there was a little bit succinct, like one statement, that was it. Probably could have had a little more detail on that. And yeah, so the market focus was to Asian American students, communities, and beyond. I guess the shortfall for this reader was that it seemed like it may be one of those projects as it's by a college, mainly for the benefit of the college community. And I know that everything in college is always usually open to the public, but it could help to be more clear with that, or direct, I guess. But they definitely have a focus in who they're looking to serve. And then in the last part underneath the management and projects stuff, I just have me. It says me is the one who's making the project happen. A name could be helpful to who that me is. I'm guessing it's probably the grant writer, which may be the project director. So the staffing entry lacks a little bit of detail, but the management is appropriate. Entire grant to the artists, great. And again, does not affect the score, but just curious if there was a plan if NEA funding if the National Endowment for the Arts funding doesn't turn up for their part of their project budget, if there's a backup plan, but again, does not affect the score. Just putting that question out there. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Jeff. Susan, you were the second reader on this grant.
Okay. I agree with Jeff on his comments. The proposal supposes that the project being free allows people who are historically lack access to arts programs would be served by this, but there's no plan to target market to the that underserved population. And yeah, on Purdue campus, that underserved population is fairly sparse. So I think there are opportunities to bring at what looks from the video provided to be a really engaging project. It would be nice to bring that to that group. So that's my comments.
Any comments from the panel as a whole? Cindy.
I had similar concerns about the benefit to artists, but it made it sound like there were some professional development opportunities or something there. So just, include that kind of information for future. And I wondered about the project timeline, if it really fell in the grant period timeline. I kind of went back and forth on that a few times there. So I think that could be a little clearer.
And yes, Christina.
Yeah, for me, the goal was just a little convoluted. I thought the artist was tremendous. Her exhibits were really incredible, but it was lost on me who the intended audience is. Is it Purdue? Is it the greater Lafayette community? And the goal, is it to create and foster cross-cultural understanding? Is it to raise awareness on the issues facing the Asian American population? They mentioned the incidents that occurred in Bloomington and in Purdue Northwest, but tying it all together is sort of where I was lost. But overall, I think it was a good application.
Any other comments from the panel as a body? Then let's update our scores and online comments. Okay, I think we're done with that. Our next application comes from the Songwriters Association of Mid-North Indiana, and Cindy is the first reader.
Thank you, Bill. Overall, I thought this was a compelling application, and I'm just going to get to my notes. Just one. I thought they did a nice job explaining what they learned from year one and how they made edits to the program for the next year. The artistic quality is evidenced by the participating artist instructor bios. I have a note here for a stronger proposal. So I would have liked to have seen some more information from year one. So if they had videos or images, and this is obviously the performing arts they're learning, but I think that they could capture some more stuff to really show off what they're doing. The artist support, it looks like they're expecting almost double participating artists. They qualify how they're participating in different ways, but that looks outstanding. And then overall on that, I would have liked to get more information on what is the acronym? SAMI, S-A, on the songwriters membership. So, how many artists do they actually serve? How many artists are part of this songwriters membership? Because I believe that could be really impactful and help tell the story of what they're doing. Because the quality of this workshop that they're bringing seems like it will be very impactful and meaningful to those performing artists who want to get to that next level. As far as community engagement, I have a comment on that they might want to define the exact strategies or steps they're using to attract young women. So if they're going to have a statement that young women don't have the same access, then I would like to hear, how do you know that? So was there a studies done, or did people report that to you? So I just back up those kind of statements for a stronger proposal. And then similarly, how do they know from their previous experience that shows that all peoples felt welcome? There's a reference to LGBTQ. So if you're going to do that, well, how do you know that? So just let us know, did you do a survey and you had such percentage report to you? So just give us some more information on those kind of statements. Overall, good use of feedback, again, to make decisions is evidenced. Well-qualified staff in the project areas, clearly laid out timeline, which seems appropriate. Budget seems appropriate, except for it didn't have any marketing expenses. So I was wondering about that. And overall, just a nice job, and looks to be a very impactful workshop.
Sky, you are the second reader.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything that Cindy shared with us. And even though the funding is going to be going to the LA professionals, I'm delighted for the Indiana artists that'll benefit from this type of program. I would have appreciated some type of public component to it. I don't know if possibly offering scholarships in the future is an option, or something that they could be sharing as a webcast. When I went to the Rec Room recording, they seem very active on Instagram. So sharing more of whatever you guys have been doing would be great. But overall, I love this application, and thank you for submitting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any comments from the panel as a whole? Then I believe it is time to update our scores and online comments. We seem to be doing okay without a break. Shall we just press on? Is everybody good? Okay. All right. Well, we only have 3 to go. And the next one comes to us from the West Lafayette Public Library, and Donna is the first reader.
I very much enjoyed reading through this programming outline. My first comments were that it's very clear that this is about expanded community. It's very grounded in the local community. I would have loved to see if there had been some conversation about expanding upon the programming. Will there be conversation around the cultures that we're bringing in for this meaningful experience, or will it be presented solely in performance format? I had some comments about the funding going directly to the Indiana-based artists. Great to see the research done already. It was incredibly thorough to think about what they would need. And as an artist forward type of framework, I thought that was really impressive. In the community sections with IDEA strategies, it did look like we were focusing on underserved communities. But I similarly would have liked to see the strategies align with that to address any barriers that there might have been for participation. I didn't see anything specifically flushing out, so that could have made this a little bit stronger. It does seem like there was a really fair assessment of attendance, and that very much was good for me to see. It really helped me to get on board. In project management, the income and expenses were really clear. I had one note around professional staff time being listed in a category that didn't make sense to me, but a little bit more, maybe some time fleshing out that budget in a way that is a little bit more aligned with those categories could have been stronger.
Christina, you are the second reader.
I completely agree with everything Donna said. I did think that the social media and the links they provided were really impactful. The Arabica presentation, I was in tears when the guy was singing the American national anthem with his Arabic instruments. All of that was incredibly impactful to me. Very diverse lineup in their programming, very engaged with the community. The author provided excellent data on the area demographics, talking about the poverty line and how the library provides free programming, the ADA guidelines with the audio-visual support. I just felt like overall the idea work was really strong. There was something about, they reach a lot of different audiences, from Taylor Swift fans to adults who need rest and relaxation. I thought that they just had a very complete job. But like Donna said, the very last part of the application, the program management, some of the things that, it was just over my head. I don't know what an RFP is, and some of the different things mentioned in their timeline and their budget, I didn't really understand. But other than that, I thought it was just a really strong application.
Thank you. Any comments from the panel as a group? Susan.
Yeah, within the IDEA part of the application, I question whether the project targets an underserved community. The metric that was used of 12.9% of students in West Side School Corporation receiving free or reduced lunch, I went out and looked to compare within the broader community, and actually that number should be 16.3. And well, West Lafayette is a 16.3% free and reduced lunches. Lafayette School Corporation has a 66.3%, and the county has 38%. So I would like to see the library reach out to the broader community where there actually is an underserved population that could benefit from what is truly a high quality performance art that they're bringing in that I think expands cultural competence. Those are my comments.
Anyone else on the panel?
I get where Susan's coming from, but I do have to argue in support of it is the West Lafayette Public Library, and there are other branches of libraries out in the greater Lafayette area. So I hear you, but I do also want to point out that they've been really innovative, like the Acorn Room, which is, sensory overload is a huge thing that is affecting a wide range of children and adults. And they have a room there where if you're experiencing overstimulation in the library, which there's a lot going on in there, you can go to the Acorn Room and decompress. So I do think that demonstrates real innovation, but I understand what you're saying, Susan.
Anything else from the panel? Well, then let's update our scores and online comments. I think that got us. If it didn't, let me know. Our next grant is from Westminster Village, and Susan, you are the first reader.
Okay, so this is Arts Partners in Aging, and it brings together creative and artistic activity to enrich lives in 2 senior communities. The documented work from a previous iteration of this group was of high quality. 2 local artists will be paid to plan, prepare, facilitate, and evaluate the project. Counting the Westminster program participants as artists is inconsistent with many of other applications' use of the term artist. The project was planned with input from Westminster residents and the Wabash Center staff. Plans to collect input from participants will be on an at each session basis. In the past, they used dementia patients as the participants, co-participants, and I think they face challenges with maybe getting input back from the partner group. The participation of professional staff and experienced art instructors should structure the project for success. The administration and facility fees were curious to me in that the text mentions Westminster sharing resources with the community. So that should perhaps be an in-kind item. I had made a comment that the public exhibit of the art created in the project would be a good addition, but then looking through the budget, I see an expenditure for an exhibit, though I didn't see that mentioned in the text. That's all I have.
Thank you, Susan. Our second reader on this grant is Cindy.
Overall, I think it's a really compelling project with clearly stated goals and artistic quality impact is evidenced. I just have a couple minor suggestions for improvement. Tell us what or who Westminster Village is right away. I mean, I found it, but I was like, wait a minute, what is this? So, just add a sentence there in the beginning. And then same with OMA. I think the description and the narrative was really great, but it was really fascinating. I think a lot of reviewers may not be familiar with that. So I think possibly a link or a brochure or something like that would, just add to that artistic quality and support. And then let's see, another district. Oh, and then just have a thing. There's a proven track record of their program. So I would just encourage them next go to show off a little, share how you've used the feedback to inform your decision making in the past. And really, but it's a minor suggestion because overall, the proposal is presented, demonstrates competency, artistic quality, and impact. So nice job.
Comments from the panel?
Yeah, I was similarly impressed by, it felt like this was really like a cross collaborative project that brought partners together that were sort of doing the same things. We love to see it. We love to see a collaboration. It felt very much like community players had developed the ideas for this project organically, and that had kind of been seen through, and that felt very strong for me.
Let's update our scores on our online comments. Well, it is a truism that good times come to an end, and we are now on our last application. This is from Wolf Park, and Sky, I believe you are the first reader.
Thank you. I'm excited about this program. I think that their goal of creating conservation champions in our youth, it's inspiring, and it holds great value for humanity and planet Earth. It seems to be an authentic experience for both the children and for the animals. I really like that the camps are staffed by local artists and Purdue students. I would have liked to know more about how many hours or days are included in a session, just in hopes that these young women as artists, as an author, as a future educator, that they'll be well compensated for sharing their gifts and their passions with the children. I love the connection with the middle school and the high school art and science teachers. I love that this spring free registration is going to be available to anyone who applies for a scholarship. And to know that the students have helped to provide input into developing these programs. I'm curious about the demographics of the children who have attended the sessions in the past. And possibly in a future program, potentially working together again with the middle school and high school teachers, creating some type of live webcast for other kids that are at home on breaks that they could possibly enjoy as well. It seemed that Wolf Park is very active on social media, and it's great to document the journey while still protecting our children, our community. But moving forward, I'd love to see more examples of the past projects that have been done. Overall, they seem to have a strong staff, multiple years of experience, and I enjoyed learning about the work that's being done at Wolf Park. So thank you for creating conservation champions for all of us. That's all the comments I have.
Donna, you are our second reader on this one.
Thank you, Bill. I very much agree with Sky's comments, and you took all the good stuff again, Sky. My only things to sort of flesh out, I similarly thought it was really interesting that it's conservation, but also involving arts. I thought that was really innovative. One of the things that I also fleshed out, I would have liked to see a little bit more detail about the demographics of folks and maybe some outcome reporting, something like that. But it does seem like it was community sourced ideas that led to this project development. And I really love that. They also seem to have a really healthy feedback cycle with the new and existing audience, which was really good to see as well. The staffing and the timeline and the staffing duties were comprehensively notated. And that was good to see as well. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Last chance for comments.
I have
Yes, Susan.
the thing that really tickled me with this application was art, how humans experience art, and then how the wolves experience these objects that are created for them. And it's like, is that art for wolves? Which, Wolf Park stays away from anthropomorphizing things, but I think that whole nexus bears a little more comment from the application, because it's pretty cool. And thank you, Sky. That was an excellent review. Good first reader.
Any other comments from the panel? Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, just want to add, kind of to Susan there with regard to I made the comment that as art and design is a form of human communication to the students, because they're communicating to the students the story, and then the students take the story and then they're interpreting it into their designs, and then the wildlife get to interpret that if they can. That's a whole different discussion. But and the environment. Yeah, just a unique project, and then that's all. I'm good.
Christina, you are going to say something.
Yeah, I agree with everything Sky, Susan, and Jeff said. Though it's interesting because Sky was talking about the 2 students that are running this program, and that did give me pause. I would love to see professional Indiana artists, maybe more established artists working in conjunction with the students. That was something that just occurred to me. And then the second thing is, I really feel this programming would be excellent at creating conservation champions and neurodiverse youth. There are just so many proven benefits of students with sensory challenges and just neurodiverse youth in general working with art and animals. Very strong therapeutic, positive relationships there. So maybe that could be an area where they could strengthen their idea work.
Thank you. Anything else from the panel as a whole? Yes, Cindy.
I just had a quick comment. I wanted to know more about, they have a mention of participants are included in the planning, but they didn't really specify that or quantify that. So I wanted to know more detail on that. And 2, I think it's very curious using coexistence as a metric for art. So yeah, there's a whole nother conversation there.
Thank you. Anyone else from the panel? Then let's update our scores and online comments. Have wrapped us up. Thanks very much. What a splendid panel. This has been delightful, actually. I've really enjoyed it very much. And I know that the people who have written these applications, submitted these applications, are going to be very much interested in what you have to say. I would remind the panel to stay on a little bit at the conclusion of the meeting, so for a little, make sure we're all debriefed on what we do next. This concludes the Region 4 Arts Project Support Grant Review Panel. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June commission meeting. If you have any questions in the meantime, please contact Tisha Lee at TAF, the Arts Federation. Thank you very much.